Hello, Space Commander. Can you hear me okay?
Hello, Slaughterhouse. I just completely fluffed the beginning. Okay, back to positions, please. Start again, take two.
No, that's fine. Let's use it. It's all a bit of fun.
Hello, Slaughterhouse.
All right, coming in loud and clear.
Yep, I can hear you. And I've got a new microphone, so hopefully you and the audience can hear me this time. The last couple of videos.
Yeah.
I was on the end of a piece of string with a tin can.
That's a long piece of string coming from space. All right. Well, thanks for joining me again. I actually have an agenda for today, a topic agenda, not an evil agenda. I have a topic agenda. I recently sat down with Ken, and we very briefly touched on Palitoy Action Force and whether or not it sits with regular G.I. Joe. And one of the characters that came up, and I couldn't remember his name, and even now I'm going to get it wrong. I think it's Red Shadows. It is Red Shadow. This character, right?
Yes. Yes.
Now,
like the stormtrooper of the enemy team.
Right. So this guy here, I know that they remade a couple of these guys in the modern era, and I know Cobra Commander got a repaint as well, but for some reason I thought that this was the reason why they turned Cobra Commander red, because it kind of looks like a bit like Cobra Commander. You know, the face is a little bit more like a Muppet. You know, a little. But yeah, I thought it looks a little bit like Cobra Commander. But yeah, what's the deal with these guys?
Well, let's see. That was as we've mentioned on the previous incoming transmissions. Once Action Force took off in such a big way, early '82 and then into 1983, and they scrambled to come up with new characters to meet demand. They kit bashed a lot of new characters, and this guy is actually the body they used is actually from the first wave of figures. There you go. I knew this guy was going to need a buddy, so I thought I'll send a whole bunch of them.
I feel like I could do Manamana.
Yeah, some of them come out of the mold when they were manufacturing them. Some of them come out of the mold with really sharp kind of beak at the front, and they look quite intimidating. And some of them come out soft, and the eyes are a little derpy. So sometimes you'll see references to that on the internet, where you got a scary red shadow or a funny red shadow.
Oh, right.
But yeah, so that they took the German World War II stormtrooper that had been produced for the first wave. The first wave were meant to be either historical uniforms in the real world or a kind of a guess at what tomorrow's uniforms were going to be. So we had this World War II German stormtrooper, and they've basically painted him in the new color scheme that they had decided to use for the Red Shadows, the color scheme being red and black. Well,
if you're going to call yourselves Red Shadows, you should probably have a red color to you.
Yeah. I think the only sort of modification to the sculpt was the head. It was easier for them to swap the head than the other parts. So the sort of where the face should be is completely sculpted away, and it's that kind of pointy, beaky kind of mask. There's no eyes on the sculpt; the eyes are printed on. Yeah. And the back of the head, they've put some weird kind of contraption into the back of the helmet as well. Is that some kind of mind control device? Because they're all supposed to be brainwashed by the Baron. So maybe he's one of the Baron's brainwashed victims. But yeah, so the helmet is actually the same shape, apart from the back, and the faceplate is the same shape as the World War II German stormtrooper. And if you look at the body and ignore the head, it's still the same uniform apart from the color. You'll probably see it. There's a good example of it further down in the box that you might discover at some point. But yeah, if you look at the chest of the figure, he's even got like the German. There's like a little logo on there with like wings or something.
Yeah.
That's straight out of the World War II uniform. So that's where this guy came from. So whether they at that point had already decided to bring over some of the Hasbro figures or not, I'm not sure. They might have decided to bring over, Destro and Cobra Commander and that, and repurpose them as Red Jackal and Red Laser. Maybe they looked at once they decided what they were going to do with Cobra Commander, they might have decided, okay, well, let's make the Red Shadows look like this guy, Red Laser. Or it might have been the other way around. They might have had the Red Laser. They might have had the Red Shadow at that point and thought, hey, this Cobra Commander character, we can turn him red, give him the same eyes, and he'll look like one of them. So it could have happened either way, I guess.
Because I think if you, obviously it's not an exact look, but I think that if you were to paint the face silver, that would be a pretty good equivalent for Cobra Commander, in my opinion.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I had a quick dig because I think this guy was actually in the bag with these guys, and this must be the guy you're talking about.
Hey, that's the guy.
I can see what you mean with the helmets are very similar. Oh God, this camera. Helmets are very similar, and the outfit is, as you say, exactly the same. Even down to that symbol there.
Yeah. They got
these figures, the repaints and stuff, is that they're done so well and with such detail that you wouldn't automatically assume that they're the same. Because even though up until the point where you mentioned it, it didn't occur to me straight away that these two were the same, essentially.
Yeah, the repurposing was handled really well.
I think so.
As I said, like the Muton that we looked at previously, once he's got all his gear on its head, it's not immediately obvious that he's the diver. And that there were, lots of figures like that where, because we didn't have the internet back then, all we knew of the figures was what we saw in the toy shop as the actual toys, or what we saw in the comic book Battle Action Force.
Right.
So sometimes, like the World War II German stormtrooper there, I didn't know about that figure. That was one of the early ones. I didn't know about him until I was nearly grown up. But I knew all about the Red Shadows. I had no idea that had been repurposed from him.
Yeah.
And that there's a few figures like that, which if you missed out on it when you were a kid, because you just so happened to have never seen it in the toy shop, or just so happened to have not seen it in the comic book, and you only discover it later on, there's a few characters there where it's the same one, just repurposed, and never even knew.
So do these guys, the Palitoy Action Force, have cross cells on the back to say which other figures are out?
They do. Okay. Oh, looks like that. Yes. But because there are so many figures, as I was saying, the range took off so quickly. They were in such a rush to get as many figures out as possible because it was so popular.
Yeah.
There's a lot of figures, and they're cramming them, and vehicles and play sets too, and they're cramming them all into one photo. So the pictures are actually really small. You can see the figures on there, but this is obviously a blown up picture.
So the top corner, that red vehicle in the top corner, I've got one of those somewhere.
This one?
Yeah.
Congratulations! You're the owner of Red Shadow's Shadow Track.
It just occurred to me. I've got one of those. I don't know. I can't remember where. I've had it for so long. I can't remember where I got it or how I got it. Like I got it. I think I've had it for about 8 years now. Maybe
Flip
10
it over.
years.
Flip it over. Underneath that'll say something like Palitoy 1982 Action Force, something like that underneath.
I'll go hunting in the garage for it and see.
Here you go. Believe it or not, like I said, that the repurposing was genius. I need to mention the AF5 in a moment. I'll bring that up. But this here is the Cosmic Cruiser.
Right. Yes.
Now, again, this is a Palitoy toy, not a Hasbro toy. This was before Hasbro's involvement. Now, you may not know, you may not realize it at first glance, but this is the same mold as that red shadow track we were just looking at. Now, you might think that's bonkers. There's nothing like it. Yeah. If I lift up the cat, well, actually, the whole blue bit. If you imagine the whole blue bit, is removed. Look at the grey section. It's the same thing. It's got these at the front instead of headlamps. Now there's some kind of cool space equipment. Instead of the wheels underneath, it's got these launching and landing skids. It can land and then get into launch position and take off.
That is amazing.
So, and this, we were talking about Quarrel from Z Force. She has the Action Force equivalent of the Ram cycle.
Yes.
Check out these Gatling style miniguns on the outside.
Oh yes. The
same gun. So they were quick to repurpose what they had, and so this is part of the original Palitoy toy, and then when they start to introduce the Hasbro bits and bobs, they start to add things like these to the vehicles and play sets to add a bit more variety.
That would never have occurred to me.
It's fantastic stuff, isn't it? It's like it's like toy archaeology. You discover stuff, and you look back on it and go, "How did I not notice this as a kid?" But you can tell. Here you go. You know what I was saying about the start date of Action Force? Again, not to besmirch G.I. Joe, because I love G.I. Joe too, but anyone who says Action Force copied them is wrong. On the bottom here, 1981, before the G.I. Joe relaunch.
Well, there you go.
So I rewatched again. I rewatched the last episode of Incoming Transmission because I wanted to try to make sure I didn't repeat myself again. And as we're doing these recordings, nothing is scripted, is it? We're just shooting the breeze and talking about our experiences with these toys growing up. And
I don't think anyone's thinking otherwise, mate. No one's accusing me of having this been scripted.
I love it. I'm saying from memory. They're very, they're memories from 40 years ago. And I mentioned the AF5. The AF5 was one of the first vehicles that came out in the very first year, and so the AF5 was ready to go at the end of 1981, which is why that ship there has the 1981 mold underneath.
Right.
And they repurposed that as the Red Shadow track in '83, and they used some other parts of it for other vehicles along the way, which is why it kind of cropped up in other forms later on throughout the series. But I mentioned in the last video that it was that the AF5 it could go on sea, it could go in the air, and of course it's a land vehicle. And I mentioned it's 4x4. What I meant was it's off-road capable.
Right.
It can't be 4x4 because it's got 8 wheels. So if anything, it's 8x8. So when I played the video back to myself earlier, I thought, what? No, that isn't what I meant. I meant it's an off-road vehicle. It's not 4x4. It's got 8 wheels, for crying out loud. So I was telling myself
4 on each side.
Yes.
Oh man, that's great.
Nice one. No, that would be cool if you can dig out your shadow track. Actually, let me see if I can get a better picture inside. This is the vehicle that would have come with Red Vulture, and he's the one that looks just like a Red Shadow, except he's got black painted gloves. And this is the one where my older brother, he had a shadow track, and when they opened the box, it had the wrong figure in it. It had Red Laser, the articulated.
Oh yes.
It had the bendy figure in it.
That's
the Cobra
right.
Commander repaint. So Yeah, if you ever find a red shadow with black gloves.
Was that your first experience with the bendy figure, or you'd seen them before that?
No, I think that was probably the first one. If I think back to that, the early waves, of Action Force. Yeah, my older brother, because he got into it first. Like I mentioned previously, he's always been a big tough guy, and so as soon as he saw tanks and machine guns and guys in SAS uniforms and Z Force uniforms, he was into it straight away. And so early doors, he had, like I said, we had the red laser figure, albeit by accident. But yeah, he had Quarrel on the Ram cycle. He had Steeler with I think it's called Mobat in the GI Joe, the Z Force attack tank. And with those ones, they used it. It was the same. Steeler had the same name as he did in GI Joe in the American version, but his character, his background was completely different. We did not have at the time Red Jackal, who was the Destro rework, and we did not have Stalker at the time, who was the Snake Eyes rework. But yeah, I think that those first few, they would have been the ones that my my older brother had, and yeah, I think Red Laser would have been amongst those first ones. If I just show you this page quickly,
right. Well, I can tell you now, mine has none of the antennas or guns on it.
They're the bits that go missing.
Yeah.
This little black oblong shape here, you can lay that flat.
Yeah.
Play again.
Is that a 4x4?
This one's a 6x6. Oh no, wait a minute. No, sure? No, it has.
No. It's got 8.
No, you're right. It's got 8. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah. So you can lay down.
One of them might be the spare tire. You don't know.
Well, you don't know. That's right. Yeah.
There were guys doing like repros, little reproduction rockets that you can fit on these end pieces here now.
Right.
The guns are a little harder to come by, but you can get repro rockets.
Have a closer look. Oh yes.
Okie doke. So yeah, the guns are a little harder to come by, but you've got the tow hook there that they made specifically for the laser exterminator, which is what Red Laser was supposed to come with. And there are antennas as well to try and find that have fallen down the back of the sofa. But this black oblong here, you can lay that flat so that if your red shadows are sneaking around and you need to get one of them into sort of a snipery position, that he can lay forward. He can lay forward on the shadow track, or that black oblong flips up, and it's the seat with a hole underneath, like a where his body can fit, and you can actually sit him upright in the vehicle. So they were constantly thinking of ways to keep the toy pattern, interesting and update it and things like that. So you'll notice that next time you dig out your shadow track.
Well, it's definitely more interesting than I thought it was, because I thought it was just like a red flat, flatbed. I don't know what I thought it was.
It is an unusual vehicle. This is the AF5. This one definitely is 8x8. I'm certain of it. So this is the first iteration of the vehicle, and there is ground mode. It's got these huge rocket engines at the back that can be attached, and I think a lot of people were kind of gutted when they realized that if you look down here, over here, it's got wings on the side that pop out, where the shadow track doesn't have the wings. Everyone was like, darn, we thought this thing was going to fly. But it can go on land, it can go in the air, and it's got the flotation collar as well, which
that is awesome.
So it can go in the sea.
Holy, you know what? This is like early mask ideas.
Yeah, so it's quite astonishing when you realize that this is Spaceship. It's the same vehicle, just reworked somewhat.
They put a lot of effort into the first The first, you can see where the wheels go. Yeah, but they put a lot of effort into the first one, giving it wings, giving it flotation capabilities. A lot of thought, a lot of love went into that. You can tell.
That flotation collar. I've I've got a surprise in store, but I'm not going to talk about it on this stream. You're just going to have to wait.
Okay. Yeah. I look forward to finding out what that's about. So the Destro version, Red Jackal, did you say?
Yeah.
That is an incredible looking version of that action figure. You know, I mean, arguably better than the original.
Yeah, it's interesting because, as I said at the time, us little kids, we didn't know there was a Destro. We didn't know about G.I. Joe. Eventually, in the comic strip, they had Baron Ironblood turn into this new character. We thought he was new,
right?
Cobra Commander, and he sort of tortured poor old Red Jackal into becoming Destro. But it's tricky because I'm still not used to the fact that everything you do on camera is the opposite way around to the way you do things in real life.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So here he is, Red Jackal, and the main difference in the paint job is that instead of being bare-chested, he's got this red kind of shirt on with the Red Shadow's Skull and Crossbones logo, because the original intention for them was that they would be sort of high-tech pirates.
Right.
Like pirates across land, across sea, across air, and even in space, taking over the world's sort of wealth and then eventually dominating the whole planet. He's also got this kind of bright white collar. Now, I believe that the G.I. Joe version, Destro, has a bright red collar, I think, which of course wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked with the red shirt. It would have just looked like a big red mess. So I guess that's why they gave him the white collar. But you sometimes see customizers taking the Destro figure and painting it up as Red Jackal. Anton Novikov was his name. He was a Z-Force driver. He was in Action Force. And then there was if I was organized, I would have the comic here ready to go. But in Battle Action Force, in the comics, it's tricky because up here, like I said, we've got like limited gravitational pull up here, so all my comics are floating around all the time. But Anton Novikov, it was in a terrible kind of battle, and his Jeep got flipped, and his broken body was retrieved by the Red Shadows. And when he woke up, he was a cyborg.
Oh wow!
And he's sort of like been reprogrammed to work for the bad guys. And he's got some. Whereas Destro is like a guy in a mask sort of character, Red Jackal is a cyborg, and he has certain cyborg capabilities, courtesy of that scoundrel Baron Ironblood.
So, is it still a mask, or is that his head?
I think it's his head. I think so.
Right.
When they started to transition into the G.I. Joe characters, his head was always drawn in the comic, very kind of robotic. And when they sort of transferred over into G.I. Joe, and they redesigned the characters, they brought in the look of Cobra Commander for the Baron, and they brought in the Destro look for Red Jackal. One of the changes that Cobra Commander made when he was sort of recapturing and reprogramming and torturing Red Jackal into becoming Destro, one of the changes he made was to change the face, the head sculpt. Now the toy, if you had the Destro toy, which then came out around this time, and compared it to the Red Jackal toy, the action figure's head is exactly the same.
Right.
But in the comic, they made the face more kind of sort of metallic human looking, because in G.I. Joe, that's how he looks. In G.I. Joe, his face is not like segmented, and it's like a human face, except for it's shiny and chrome, as they say in Mad Max.
Right. That is so So I mean, that's a great idea. It's one of those tropes that that it's not wholly original to create a bad guy from a good guy. Heck, they even did it in Rise of Cobra with Cobra Commander. He was one of the good guys in that movie before they ruined it. And
they ruined it.
But I think in this case, it actually works really well. It gives them a little bit more depth rather than just being an arms dealer, which is still cool in its own right. Having that history of actually being with Z-Force is pretty cool.
I'm desperately going through these comics trying to find you some images. I might have to send you some photos and you can edit them in afterwards.
Yeah. I'll throw them up if I remember.
It was a weekly comic, so because it came out every week, there is a lot of issues. So
I bet.
Okay, here's a picture of Destro after Red Jackal was turned into Destro. I can at least show you this. There he is. He's by this finger here.
Oh yes.
So looking very G.I. Joe. Whoop.
Oh yes. Yes.
Yeah, he looks very much like the G.I. Joe version.
Yeah.
Whereas previously, he looked a bit like Colitis from the Flash Gordon film in 1980. He looked kind of like that.
Oh, okay. Well, cool. if you remember to send me some pictures, I'll flash them up here. If you don't see any pictures, Space Commander didn't send me anything, so that's on you, mate. There will just be a text saying sorry, sorry, no image, image not found.
Yeah, was it 404 error?
Yeah.
Well, you know, we have to deal with like sunspots and solar radiation up here. Sometimes the transmission doesn't get through, but I'll see what I can come up with for you.
I'll add some sound that goes wow, wow, wow. No, I hope you don't send me any pictures. Hey, so
do it anyway. Put the pictures up and have that anyway,
Yeah. Sometime later. Anyway, so where we left off last time, we had who I called Mutton. It was Muton. We left with Muton later. Now, at first glance, I thought this guy had cross swords on his chest, but I can see now that I'm an idiot. And they're actually part of his outfit, suspenders or whatever. But this guy, those are not. That is not a pair of scissors.
Yeah, as I mentioned, that some of these figures are a bit beaten up because I was for our special project, which we revealed one day. I was just buying up like bulk loads of figures because we need a lot. So some of them are in pretty beat up condition. But
well, let me tell you something, Space Commander. Let me tell you something. I'm happy to see that this figure is in this condition because that means that this guy had some adventures.
Oh yeah.
This guy went out there. He's seen some water, probably some ocean water, hopefully, at least some bath water. He's got a little bit of scuffage going on. This guy has seen some action. This guy was used as a toy by a child who, was lucky enough to take him on some grand adventures. So if this guy was completely just mint condition, it would be sad because that means that some kid didn't have much playtime. Even the scuffs on the back of the helmet just shows, the kind of the adventures pretty much. Your mind paints a picture.
I knew we were going to be talking, so I dug this guy out, and look how floppy this poor guy is. He has seen some adventures.
Now that's a bendy figure.
That is a proper bendy figure. Yeah. And this Sarge has certainly kicked Cobra's butt many times, so many times that he's now limp as a rag doll, but that's okay. That's okay, because if I stand him between this guy,
oh right, yes,
and this guy, they kind of prop him up. So it kind of works.
So is that Sergeant Slammer?
I think technically this is actually he's got the black vest on. Was the black vest the one with the triple T?
Yes.
So it could be a Slammer then.
It could be. It could be.
It could be. It could be. One of my agents in America may have secured for me a Valaverse Slammer. So maybe
amazing.
one day. But getting back to the diver, this is the original 1980, well, late 1981, early 82 version. Yeah,
right.
This is the original version.
Same mold, but
same mold. That's right. So this guy came with the diving platform, and was basically the shrunken down version of Action Man. One of Action Man's most popular suits was the deep sea diver. So they made this version based on that, and even in this, that tiny aperture, you can see that they made him like Action Man with the scar on the cheek. And he had a tube that would go through the top of the helmet and would attach to the diving platform so he could breathe underwater. Now, the version you've got was the second version of that. Or actually, he and Muton would have come out at about the same time, so he might be the third version. I don't know. But that was the one where they wanted to make him more mobile, so they wanted to give him some kind of breathing apparatus, and the apparatus they used was the rocket pack from G.I. Joe, which, as we discussed, does not attach without the use of the official Action Force brightly coloured elastic band to hold it in place. But they were thinking on their feet.
So this is delightfully sculpted as well. It's got a knife there. Don't puncture the suit. But all the fact that do you know if the head can move? Have you ever tried to?
It can. I have because my younger brother had one of these. If he's watching, this one's mine from eBay. Your one is still at Mum and Dad's, okay? I didn't nick it. It's at Mum and Dad's. All right, this one's from eBay. It came up on the last supply rocket. Oh, we had a terrible accident with the supply rocket last time. We had we have plant matter and stuff sent up to us for we've got some for the hydroponic garden, some for crops, and we're also doing experiments to see if we can grow crops in space. Somebody dropped a canister full of pollen straight into the aircon system, so it's blown pollen all throughout the space station. So now everyone up here, even if they've never had it before, people up here are suffering with hay fever. So if I sound bunged up, if I keep reaching for tissues, I apologize. This is just one of the things that goes on up here in space.
Right. Yes. Well, I mean, I won't judge you, buddy, but yeah, I thought there was stars in the background, but there might be spores.
Well, we did have that incident. With was it Cobra La? Those guys launching spores in this place, so that was kind of an issue, but we dealt with it in the end, But So that's the deep sea diver. As I said, this original version was based on Action Man, and I have on occasion poked a small object like a cotton bud or something through there to see that you can turn the head. The yellow suited version, this was when they had introduced the new characters and the special teams, each team being separate from each other, Z Force, Q Force, and so on. So the Q Force guy that you've got, he's on the front of the packet, as I mentioned before, he would have like the job description or the title of the character. So he would say Deep Sea Defender, but then on the back you'd have his file card, and it would say that his code name was Leviathan, and his real name was Jamie McLaren, one of our Scottish team members.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, I was reading through a quick comic that you sent me to do with Space Commander, and there was a character in there that was Australian, or at least trained in Australia. which I thought was pretty cool. I can't remember who he was off the top of my head.
Yeah, that was one of our Space Force guys, wasn't it? Let's have a quick peek. Talk amongst yourselves.
While you're looking for that, I'll say that while this guy looks like a force to be reckoned with, if you came across the this guy on the ocean floor, you might be a little bit intimidated, which is, I guess, why they thought that Muton would also look quite intimidating. But then I dug out this guy, and well, he's a little less intimidating.
Yeah,
he still has his charms. Although I have to suspect that they've just painted some bare feet yellow.
Yeah, he's actually a reuse of in the first wave. They had the diver in just a normal wetsuit. It was like a bright orange wetsuit, or you could get a variation of him in a black wetsuit. And then in the second wave, they re-released the black wetsuit with the SAS Force logo painted on. So if this guy, I can't remember if you've got one of those wetsuit guys or not, but he would have come with like diving gear, would have had a mask on it and oxygen tanks. So and the feet were designed for actual to scale flippers. I think swim fins they call them in some countries. So yeah,
this was an early design for those diving ones that have the individual toe segments. But yeah.
Like, so he would have had flippers.
Who's walking around like this? Just in the
yeah. He would have been to water. So yeah, he would have had like the tanks on his back and the mask. The Q-Force version there actually had this kind of big apparatus that went up over the top of his head, whereas the earlier version and the black SAS Force version would have been classic kind of James Bond looking goggles, the mouthpiece, the oxygen tank. And this oxygen tank did strap to his body with shoulder straps. It wasn't just a rubber band this time.
Right.
So the confusion about the Australian astronaut, you might think, well, Space Commander, how can you not know the men under your command? The thing is, this chap is called Blastoff, and there he is there. And his real name was Greg Taggart. Now, when I was a kid here in the UK, well, we're above the UK. Did you know the space station is geostationary orbit directly above the toy shop where I used to get my Action Force figures when I was a kid? If you put on one of our jump packs and you do like an orbital dive, exactly half an hour later, you'll land outside the toy shop. Just remember to deploy your chute first, otherwise you'll break your legs at the least.
At the very least.
Growing up in the UK, at the very least, growing up in the UK, there was a detective show called Taggart, and it was based in Scotland. The main character was Scottish. So as a little kid, I always thought Greg Taggart, Blastoff, I thought he was Scottish. So whenever the issue of the Australian astronaut comes up, I always double check that I'm not getting that wrong. But yes, it is Blastoff. He's not a detective. Kids of my generation, if you say to them the name Taggart, they'll almost always reply straight away with murder, because that was kind of his catchphrase. Oh no, there's been another murder. So yeah, that's what Taggart means to kids of my age. So yeah, I always have to double check that I'm getting the name right when I check out Blastoff.
So is this similar to the guy we were talking about?
Hey, yep. Let me just rehydrate. Very important thing to do in space.
Oh, of course. So the thing with this guy, I've just noticed, is that it's very hard for him to put his arms down by his side because he's got these giant big pocket things on him.
Yeah.
So he put his arms down.
You kind of have to find a pose that works for him.
You pose him like this, looks like he needs to go to the bathroom.
So yeah, Blastoff. He had kind of yellowy limbs.
Right.
The gentleman on the opposite page, Hawkwind, same mold but orange in color.
Yeah, orangey. Yeah.
And Hawkwind came with the satellite defense skiff, whereas Blastoff was just a single carded figure.
Right. I see. No head articulation on this guy, but I mean, still doesn't need it. Looks great.
Yeah, and that's a fairly wide kind of visor he's got there. He could probably just look side to side, like the older
Well, I
Eagle Eyes
mean,
and the older.
when you see a spaceman today, you don't see them turning their whole helmet left and right, do you? They just turn their head inside the thing, don't they? What do I? I'm no space expert like yourself, but
here's the Q-Force skin diver we were looking at just now. Yeah, shark. So that's how he looks without all his gear on. That's how he looks with the gear.
Yeah, I reckon this guy named himself Shark because he's not very intimidating on his own.
No. Well, the SAS Force version, I think he was called Barracuda.
Right.
So if I can bring that guy up for you. Here he is. Now you can see the figure is the same figure, just recolored in the SAS Force gear.
Oh right, yes.
Colors, I mean. There's the gear down here, and when you see it on the figure, it's like your traditional sort of diving gear, like you would see in Thunderball or one of those cool James Bond films that they used to make before they ruined it.
Yeah.
Before they ruined it. So before the introduction of the individual teams, this guy was just Action Man in his Frogman gear. You can actually see, because of the orange wetsuit, you can see the black the diving gear much clearer in this picture.
Oh, right.
He's got the mask on over his eyes. The breathing apparatus goes round to his back, where he's got his canisters, and they're strapped to the torso by proper straps, not by an elastic band this time.
Octopus not included.
Octopus not included. So that's the Action Man version that he was based on.
Right.
This is tricky, man, doing everything the opposite way around on camera. But yeah, that's how he would have looked in the original iteration. Bright orange. You can see above there the tanks. And that would all have strapped onto him. And they, like I said, they also released a black version of this. And then they put the SAS logo on the black version and made him the SAS Force version. On the opposite page, there's our buddy Desert Rat. I saw your stream with Tony recently from Analog Toys.
Yes.
And I was very pleased to see that Tony furnished you with the gun and the detonator pack.
Yes.
To complement the figure. So congratulations, you've got a late 1981, early 1982 Palitoy Action Force Desert Rat figure complete. You've got the whole kit. There you go.
It came into my collection. Very, very thankful to Space Commander for Desert Rat, as well as Tony Roberts for the rest of the gear of it. Very unexpected, but they're very welcomed. Thank you very much.
That's cool. But between us, two Englishmen have supplied you with a complete Desert Rat.
How good is that? I was very
pretty cool. The figure from me and the equipment from him. I think that's pretty neat.
It was very nice. A very nice gesture to send them off.
One of our satellite defense rockets just launched.
Oh shit.
Luckily, there's not much sound in space, but you do get a bright flash every now and then.
Is it radiation?
Yeah, radiation from the rockets.
Yes.
Well, you gotta, you have to launch a patrol every now and then. You don't know who's up here. Robo Skull from the Red Shadows, Cobra,
Yes.
Skull Squadron. Gotta keep an eye on these guys.
There's so many different enemies to look out for. It's easier when they call themselves the enemy, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. They have a logo with Cobra enemy on it.
That's right.
Makes it easier to spot.
So I wonder with Cobra Commander, because he's in Cobra, does that mean technically he's just called Commander?
Yeah. I wondered if that was how they came up with the ending for the Rise of Cobra movie, perhaps, when he just refers to himself as Commander.
Yeah, right. Yes.
I did wonder if that was. What was behind that.
Well, I guess you can.
I got the action
Commander
figure, by the way. I got the figure of that, and I carefully whittled away at the mask until it popped up, and you could see the face underneath.
Yeah. How did it look?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He needs some sunscreen.
Yeah. It looks like a big scab.
Yeah, he burns up more than I do in sunlight.
Well, I was just saying that you could put Commander at the end of any name and think you're important.
Yeah.
Works for some.
Yeah. I've worked for a couple of people like that before I got this job, and I became the commander.
That's right. Yeah. It's Commander. Sorry, I pronounce it wrong. Space Commander.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes. Well, the original Space Commander was Chuck Connors from Cincinnati, Ohio, and he worked in Texas, of course. And he was American, so he would have been Space Commander. His code name was Sky Raider. As we mentioned previously, my Space Commander was actually the German version. Himmelstormer was his name.
Right.
Apologies to anyone if I got the accent wrong. Sorry, it's not a hate crime.
So where was I going? What was I saying?
We were talking about Cobra Commander.
Oh, yeah. So in Australia, a lot of people, instead of saying Cobra, will say Cobra.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Some of my Aussie friends will call him Cobra Commander. Even though I'm Aussie, it does sound weird to me to say it that way.
Yeah, so sometimes growing up in the UK, we would hear Cobra. The Special Corps record that came out in the States, I think Special Corps was called Steel Brigade. When I was growing up in the UK, it was called the Special Corps, and there was that record. You and I have mentioned it a couple of times, and someone has very kindly put it on YouTube so people can listen to it.
Yes.
He actually refers to Cobra Enemy. So that's an official Hasbro Action Force product there, and they refer to Cobra Enemy.
Cobra.
Yeah.
You sent me that link actually to watch that, and I thought that was really entertaining. I remember a few years ago, I saw somebody took the tape from Mission Brazil. There was an audio tape for Mission Brazil, and they put the action figures over it to make it like a little animation, but I haven't been able to find it. I don't know if it's still around on the internet or not, but I haven't been able to find it.
Wow.
I was going to send it to you because it looked pretty cool, but I haven't found it. It's gone. Cool. Somebody, if you know where it is, send it to me. Send it over.
Well, I did notice on YouTube the Baron's Revenge cassette that's been put on there with they've used some of the images. It's not panel for panel, but they've used some of the images from the Battle Action Force comic. And look, there's our little Q-Force chum down the bottom there, and behind him is the Shadow Track hovering into view.
Oh yes, but, and they had the helicopter as well.
That's right. That was this was the SAS version of that helicopter when it was called the Hawk.
Yes.
And then when they started to bring in the Hasbro characters without repurposing them as new characters and new figures. They were just bringing them straight over. They then had to explain why the Hawk helicopter was now a bad guy Cobra helicopter called the Fang. And so in Battle Action Force, they did a story where I think what happened was, I think Cobra captured one of the Hawk helicopters. I remember they destroyed the Hawk fleet that the poor old SAS guys had. They took out all their helicopters, and shortly thereafter, Cobra flew into battle with a repurposed version of the Hawk called the Fang. Now, in real life, in the real world, it was the Fang repurposed as the Hawk, and then sort of returned to its status as the Fang, the Cobra Fang. But in the story, it was the poor old SAS force lost their Hawk helicopters, and before you know it, Hawk helicopters were being used against them by Cobra.
Was the Hawk the one that came with the tripwire repaint?
Yeah,
that's
Blades.
A good repaint. Yes, Blades. Yeah. That's a good repaint.
Yeah, very
Quarrel's
cool.
a good repaint too. Was Snake Eyes as Stalker? Was that a different color or no? Or was he still black?
He was mostly wearing a black suit, but there were a few changes on the faceplate was kind of a grey color, and I'm not sure if a couple of things on his body might have been painted differently as well. But because he is a Stalker repaint, because he's a Snake Eyes repaint, and Snake Eyes is always popular. His figure, if you manage to pick it up, is very expensive. If I can just find the right, so I don't have that. Is what I'm trying to say. I don't have that figure. No. It would be nice to have it, but I don't. But yeah, if I can just find you a picture, because I don't have one to hand, I'll show you a picture of him. Whoop.
Sure.
So there you go. He's got like the grey.
Oh, grey faceplate. Yes, that looks cool.
I'm not sure if it is cool. I'm surprised more people don't fake them. But I'm not sure if Snake Eyes' grenades were just black or not. But on Stalker, you can see they're kind of painted in there.
Well, Snake Eyes was all black, no paint apps at all. So the fact that they've added some,
that would have saved Hasbro a few dollars here and there.
Well, yes,
Ragnar Ragnarsson from Reykjavik, Iceland, Stalker.
Wow,
he was the driver of the Panther. Actually, I think the Panther, that started out as a GI vehicle. I think that was the Vamp. Let me just see if I can.
Okay. Yeah, let's take a look.
Which one am I going?
Oh, that's cool. Yes. Oh, very cool. So go ahead. I was just talking to a buddy of mine who's looking to get the Night Rhino from G.I. Joe, which is a repaint of the Warthog. Because it's in that same color scheme as you just showed me there.
Oh, right.
Black with the sort of goldish yellow, whatever color you would call that.
Yeah.
So I can see what he means now.
I think it's in reality it was bright yellow, but in my sort of what do they call it, headcanon? In my own headcanon retcon. That's a nice flashy gold color. If you check out the Jeeps that Palitoy had originally come up with of their own, this was been the first wave before there was any Hasbro involvement.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, I see. Yeah. That is cool.
So lots of space for the straight-limbed figures. Sure.
Yes.
Whoop. There we go. Lots of space for the straight-limbed figures to fit in because this vehicle was designed specifically with them in mind. And like the AF5 that we were looking at earlier, this is the AF3. Again, a multi-mission vehicle. The roof canopy pops off. You flip it over, and it makes a little boat.
That's amazing.
So that's what we have over this side here. You see the boat there?
It's
on the top. You take the.
Looks a bit like Jurassic Park.
Yeah, Jurassic Park, decades early.
Yeah.
And yeah, when as I mentioned previously, not to repeat myself too much, but when the demand for Action Force skyrocketed, it was so popular, and they had to come up with something quickly to fill the blanks. They took the lid off that Jeep and repurposed that as this little SAS boat patrol.
Nothing goes to waste with Palitoy Action Force.
No. It comes with a character called Stakeout, who is very similar to the Quickfire figure that we looked at last time.
Right.
That particular figure was reused several times, and they're very, very similar. So I always have to just double check that I'm not giving you false information. And I just quickly
well,
check
I'd believe
the
it anyway.
Yeah. So in the rush to get some new product to market, they just went ahead and used the G.I. Joe vehicle, which, as you can see, has a much smaller space for the figure.
Right. That's right.
So they supplied it with Stalker.
Do you reckon that's a
the bendy figures? This one, hang on a second. 1, 2, 3. What comes next?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 4. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely 4x4 this time. Yeah. So he came with Stalker, so that Stalker could actually fit in the driver compartment, sit behind the wheel.
So did all the bendy figures come with the vehicles then? None of them came on card until they were branded G.I. Joe or Action Force G.I. Joe.
Yeah. What happened was while Palitoy was still producing their figures, the bendy figures only came with there's blades there, the tripwire repaint. They only came with
such a great repaint. Yeah.
There you go. It's got the SAS logo on his chest there.
Yes.
The yellow dagger.
That is so cool. Yeah.
They came with the vehicles basically because they would fit. If they had pegs on the vehicles, you could stand the other figures on them. But for the most part, it was basically the figures that came with the vehicle were the ones with the bendy limbs, unless it was one of the original Palitoy vehicles, one of the vehicles that Palitoy had developed themselves in the first place. So here we see we were looking at the AF3 Jeep just now.
Yep.
This is when they re-released it as part of Z-Force. This is the Jeep my older brother had, and again, much more space for the figure to fit in, and pegs on it so you can stand guys in the back. And
yeah, that looks cool.
So that was our Jeep before the Hasbro involvement, but this time repurposed for Z-Force.
Arguably still as cool as the Vamp, in my opinion.
Yeah, I always thought it looked really sleek. I liked it. And we didn't realize that the SAS boat, because that was a repurpose of the AF3's roof, we didn't realize that it would fit perfectly as a roof on this guy. So you can have a Z-Force, you can have a Z-Force Jeep with a nice SAS Force canopy on top. As kids, we didn't realize. So yeah, Palitoy did make a lot of their own vehicles to begin with, but it was only because Action Force was so successful, it took off so quickly that they had to get some other vehicles in their quick shop, and that's how we ended up with Destro coming over as Red Jackal. So he would have been driving the Hyena, which is like the Hyena is like the Red Shadow version of the Hiss tank. Excuse me a second. But then after Palitoy stopped production, poor old Alfred Pallet at this point had died and the company was broken up and sold off. During this transitional phase, the Action Force figures were still being sold on this type of packaging with the color scheme and the logo, only now they were straight up G.I. Joe figures. They weren't repaints anymore. So if you were really lucky, you could get a Red Jackal figure on a Destro card if you were really lucky. But for the most part, it would be Destro on a Destro card, Cobra Commander on a Cobra Commander card, Baroness on a Baroness card, and so forth.
Right. And then they started using their original names.
Yeah. At that point, they were just going straight ahead using the Hasbro names, and it was then a year or so later that they then Hasbro were then bringing over their sort of branded Action Force packets, which looked different. They had the Hasbro logo on them and so forth. But for that first year, that they were using just Hasbro figures and not the Palitoy figures anymore. That they were just straight ahead putting G.I. Joe figures in Action Force packets. And if I just draw your attention to this here, Cobra had its own distinct logo in the UK, or I should say in marketplaces where Palitoy was sold, because of they didn't just sell Action Force in the UK. There was several places around the world where it would sell, but we had our own Cobra logo.
Huh. I did not know
enemy on it.
Smart.
Yeah. Doesn't say.
Yeah, I did not know that. I'll have to look that up. I'll throw a clearer image up on here. If I forget to do that, you'll hear this sound. Wah, wah, wah. Yeah. All right, buddy. I think we'll wrap that up. There was a great hangout. I've got to get set up now for the hanging out with Kelly and Sarge in about 25 minutes.
Yes, mate. Well, say give my love to Kelly and say
Will do.
Say 10 hut to the Sarge for me.
Will do.
I'm always appreciative. I always appreciate when he says, he says full force, and he remembers the UK fans. We didn't get Yo Joe until many years later, so full force is how we always think of him. So it's great when he thinks of us occasionally.
Oh, and, yes.
How far into the care package have we got now? Is there anything left to dig up, or?
Yeah, so we do. I can almost see the bottom of the box.
No, we're getting there.
We are getting there. This is a huge lot of figures. So the guy that I pulled out, there's maybe I can see an actual G.I. Joe in here. So there is.
He came with the job lot.
Yeah. So there's this guy is sitting in there. But the next guy that I pulled out that we'll start with next time, if we haven't already, is this guy. I don't think we've looked at him yet, and if we have, he was at the bottom, so he might have fallen through.
No, it's cool. We can start there.
Have we looked at this guy yet?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
The Night Patrol pilot, who has the same. He's mostly the same mold, but in a black and red color. But okay, yeah, this guy, I like the green outfit, even though this was one of the first year figures, so not from Z Force, which was introduced later, but because he's green, a lot of kids would put him in with their Z Force figures. But we can discuss that next time.
Right. Well, thanks for hanging out. We'll do it again sooner rather than later.
It's all right.
So yeah.
Hopefully next time I'll have my commander stripes on my Space Commander uniform next time we chat.
Amazing! I can't wait to see it. I need to come up with my own uniform for these things.
Oh, you got the Sarge uniform.
Oh, that thing is hot and sweaty, mate. That's why I stopped wearing it. All right. Well, I'll see you on the next one.
All right, mate. You take care. Love to the family.
Yours too. Thanks, buddy.
Am I dismissed?
You're dismissed. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment down below.